Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, let's dive right in. Today, we're giving you a massive overview of a genuinely fascinating document. It's called the Akrmna Civilization Constitution, and it's essentially a blueprint that attempts to rethink, completely restructure, and standardize literally every part of how human society functions from the ground up.
So think about it. What if human civilization had an operating system? Imagine if we could just press restart. What if we could reboot our whole global infrastructure to fix these deep systemic issues? And not just with temporary patchwork policies, but with a unified, mathematically structured framework. That's the wild thought experiment driving this whole Akrmna blueprint.
And it starts by pointing out frustrations that, let's be honest, we all feel every single day. The text argues that our current nations are just bogged down by fragmented digital systems, weak public services, massive inequality in infrastructure, you name it. By calling out these chronic issues, along with things like hidden corruption and economic leakage, the document is basically setting the stage for what it calls a massive, civilization-scale countermeasure.
To wrap our heads around this giant 70-plus article document, we're going to break it down into 5 key areas. 1. A civilization operating system. 2. The digital governance layer. 3. The KSB economic engine. 4. Physical district centers. And 5. Funding and public ownership.
Okay, let's jump into Section 1, Civilization OS, a unified architecture.
So, according to the text, Akrmna is not a company, it's not some new app, and it is definitely not a traditional government. It actually defines itself as a complete civilization layer. The whole idea is to integrate everything, healthcare, justice, delivery networks, education, into one single, transparent, sovereign-grade architecture, meaning it supposedly has the security and authority of a nation-state, but it operates entirely in public view. The stated goal here, every single action is logged, and absolutely nothing is hidden.
Moving right along to Section 2, Digital Governance, and its scalable hierarchy. The system basically organizes society through this incredibly strict, scalable hierarchy. It goes all the way from the individual right up to the global level. Every digital action, every report, every command gets logged on an interactive global map. And what that does is provide a really clear, unblockable escalation path. If an issue doesn't get resolved at a local group level, boom, it automatically escalates up the chain. The text explains that this dual reporting system is specifically built to stop hidden unilateral decisions in their tracks and just totally root out corruption.
All right, let's look at Section 3, the KSB economic engine and the dual currency model.
This is where it gets really interesting. The document introduces this concept called the Karam Service Bond, or KSB. Basically, the framework wants to totally ditch inflationary currency models and price manipulation. How? By creating a universal valuation system that is based entirely on human service and labor. The math behind it is simple, but honestly pretty radical. Exactly 10,000 KSB is designed to equal 1 month of a given country's basic living expenses.
Think about your own job for a second. Under this system, human service is mathematically sorted into 3 hardship levels: easy, medium, and hard. And the goal is to guarantee standardized economic fairness across all digital and physical services. So if you're out there doing grueling physical labor, categorized as hard, your hourly KSB value is literally quadrupled compared to someone working an easy desk job. It essentially creates a completely transparent baseline for what human time is actually worth.
Now, obviously, the framework doesn't expect everything to just flip overnight. It details a really deliberate multi-phase transition. You start off with national currencies, so your dollars, euros, whatever, because you need that to build the initial physical infrastructure. But gradually, as the whole system matures, the text outlines this shift where all digital services, deliveries, and local economies transition to running purely on KSB, which essentially pushes national currencies to the background. And to sustain public welfare inside this new economy, the system has a built-in rule. It automatically deducts a flat 20% from all user accounts every month. When you compare that to income tax rates in a lot of modern nations, it's actually remarkably lean, especially when you consider that only 4% goes to funding the platform itself. The vast majority, 16%, is funneled directly into a public equal fund. That fund then automatically distributes money to folks who need it based on a completely transparent ledger, and it pays official national taxes. It's basically trying to bake economic justice right into the code.
Okay, Section 4, District Centers and Physical Infrastructure.
The blueprint isn't just digital. It actually envisions building an astonishing 17,800 physical district centers all over the globe. We're talking about a massive, decentralized physical network, where each center acts as the literal real-world embodiment of the digital Akrmna platform for its local community.
Every single one of these centers is designed to be a standardized civic hub. So it's not just some boring government building. It combines everything: healthcare, local business, art, sports, gaming, creating a true community anchor. They're meant to provide this organic, physical space where life can actually thrive, all while serving as the main delivery and marketplace node for that specific district's digital ecosystem.
And the Constitution is hyper-specific about the money. I mean, it leaves zero room for budget inflation. It dictates exactly how the $3.35 million budget for a single center gets spent, right down to specifically allocating $100,000 for legal and marketing. They leave very little to the imagination when it comes to how these hubs are supposed to be standardized and built transparently all over the world. Finally, Section 5, funding and ownership, with zero government burden.
So the total global cost to actually build this massive network is calculated at $56 billion US, which sounds like a lot, but to put that into perspective, that is actually less than the market cap of a lot of single tech companies today, and yet it's meant to fund global infrastructure. The text explains that this cost is distributed across nations using a mathematical fairness constant based purely on landmass. The idea is to make sure absolutely zero political negotiation is required to figure out who owes what.
Crucially, the text dictates that the entire system is public funded. We're talking local citizens, philanthropists, local investors. It deliberately takes government debt completely out of the equation. And even more interesting, the Constitution strictly prohibits foreign ownership. A nation only pays for the centers inside its own borders, and those centers are owned exclusively by the people of that nation. So zero corporate or foreign capture. Because the public is footing the bill, the public permanently owns 99% of the whole system. The founder, they just retain a 1% inheritable royalty. In fact, the founder gets exactly one democratic vote, just like every other citizen.
So, whether you look at this massive 70-article document as just a utopian thought experiment, or maybe a serious, mathematically grounded blueprint, it definitely challenges how we view modern infrastructure. By blending digital governance, a service-based economy, and physical community centers into one package, it leaves us with a highly provocative question. Considering all the flaws we see in our current global systems, is humanity ready to rewrite its own operating system from scratch?